Well, I first should say, you probably had about 1 million Webb Spider-Man. I was just thinking, here's a guy called Webb. I'm sure you must have those up to here. But the one thing I was thinking, moving from Green Day and No Doubt pop videos to your first feature, 500 Days of Summer, was a big leap. But now, moving from there to a $2.5 billion franchise from those original trilogy, I don't know if you kind of woke up in cold sweats here, or whether you always had this clear feeling, I can do this.
It hasn't really dawned on me yet. You just take it one day at a time. That's really how it is, and you got to be careful not to confuse anxiety for danger. But it was. I just had a good time. I mean, like the 17-year-old version of myself woke up every morning like in good cold sweats. Like what am I doing in bed? I should be at work. This is like a dream come true. So it was really quite joyful.
I don't know, when Sony suggested to you, you were a bit taken aback, and you said it wasn't your kind of movie, and they said, well, that's why you should do it, and you still didn't say yes at the time. And did it take much convincing? Was there a point where you realized, actually, this could be my kind of movie?
I remember sitting at home one day. I was thinking about the character, and I was thinking about the because I had known the Spider-Man comic books growing up, and I remember, I had a specific idea for what would be interesting. I really wanted to know what happened to his parents. And so there was an access to that at that point. But I thought there was some opportunity there to create something that I thought was special, and it had been a while since I'd made anything, and it just clicked. I don't know how else to describe it.
I know it's only 10 years since Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire and the guys sort of made their Spider-Man. In Hollywood years, that could be a century, but there's still that feeling that some people be obviously aware of those films. And for you, was there a case of, well, I don't want to be Gus Van Sant making Psycho here, where it just feels like I've come and made the same film? Just that finding those other ways to come at the same piece of information.
Well, there's a big tonal shift. I think I wanted to create something more grounded and a little bit more realistic, but that's a hard thing to articulate unless you've seen the movie. But beyond that, there's a lot of narrative differences. There's a lot of story differences. If you go back to the comics, it's not like Harry Potter where there's 7 books. There's 50 years worth of comics and characters to choose from. So, we have this Peter Parker and his parents, that storyline, which I think is really great from the comics, the Gwen Stacey saga, which if you're familiar with comic books, it's a really impressive and interesting character and storyline, times controversial. And then we have the Lizard and Kurt Connors and all of that. I wanted to wrap in something that felt grounded, which for when you have a movie where you want to make it grounded and there's a 9-foot lizard running around New York, it's a little tricky, but it's fun. That's the challenge of it.
All timeless storytelling kind of has a lesson to be learned, sort of a life lesson. And I think the life lesson here is probably we should all try and be more patient with asshole shopkeepers, because it can backfire on us.
I'm glad you got that theme.
Yeah, but there is a theory within the film that sort of suggested that there's 10 different stories, and it's suggested here, well, actually there's only one. Who am I? And I don't know if you kind of feel, that is kind of true. Like, really, people go to movies and people make movies just to try and find out who they are.
Yeah, I think that's a lecture that my high school teacher gave me when I was a junior, and that always stuck with me. And I think it's absolutely true. I do think we go to the movies, whether or not we're aware of it. We go to the movies to connect and to hear philosophy packaged in really great storytelling. And I like the idea of exposing it every now and then. That's what that last scene was about.
2 very quick ones. I know that you've got, possibly for me now, the sweetest little sort of Stan Lee cameo. He always pops up, but it's a lovely little moment that he gets. I'm thinking Marvel must be tempted to record about 100 cameos against a green screen with this guy, because he is like a good luck charm for them, and I guess he'd always like to think he's in the movie somewhere. Yeah. So there's a gig. I think we could do 100 green screens.
I think I want to nominate Stan Lee for best cameo. They didn't have a section at the Academy Awards for best cameo, and Stan Lee would win it hands down. But I have to say, I do think this is the best Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, I'm sure
I'm not, I want to blow my own horn.
I read asking, did you get your white lamb in? I know that was a regular thing with your pop videos. I don't know if didn't see any white lambs being slaughtered in this one.
There's no white lambs in this one, but that has a very specific purpose in my videos, but it didn't quite fit in this one.
Rock and roll. I'll be giving the friendly finger. Nice to talk to you, man. Yeah.